Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Keith and I are getting ready to do some trout fishing, so why don't you guys check out episode 5. This week, Keith, what do we got?
This week we got some, we're going to do a little bit of cooking. We got some Chinese pot stickers we're going to try out. You see me and Renee making those.
We got Bethany out in Kansas jugging for some catfish. Totally blew my mind when she sent us the footage.
It's pretty crazy.
And you're going to get an introduction, very first introduction of the team. So Pat Casey, you'll learn all about him this week, and he's also going to walk you through some bow setup. So enjoy the episode, guys, and stay tuned.
All right, we'll catch you later.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Pat Casey here with Rack and Rod Chronicles team. Just kind of wanted to take a few minutes and introduce myself and kind of tell you where I grew up and how I started hunting and fishing. So I ended up growing up on the west end of the Upper Peninsula, so makes me a full-blooded Youper. And you're probably going to hear me say "a" quite a bit, but ended up starting out hunting with my dad. In the fall, he'd take us grouse hunting quite a bit, so that's kind of how we started. In the wintertime, he'd drag my brother and I out onto a frozen lake and prop us on a bucket and let us catch perch and bluegill in the wintertime. So that was pretty fun. I actually really enjoy ice fishing. Just kind of gives you something else to do in the wintertime when there's really nothing else going on. Summertime, my grandpa would take us walleye fishing on the river. We'd usually get to go camping with them for like a week in the summertime, and he'd take us out and we'd catch a few, but he was mostly there for retying hooks just because we'd get snagged up all the time. Come rifle season in November, my dad would take my brother and I and let us sit with him in the deer blind, and he'd kind of tell us some information and really teach us about the woods. So I learned a lot from him and from both my grandfathers. So started out doing the rifle hunting, and pretty much just rifle hunted all the way up until after college. And after that is when I found archery hunting, and that's been a rabbit hole ever since. Build my own arrows, work on my bow myself, and really enjoy doing that. Both my wife and I are pretty heavily into the archery side of things now. But on top of that, I guess I really like to brook trout fish. Just something about being on the river by yourself in the middle of nowhere, just hearing the stream flowing, catching fish, cooking them up stream side, really just relaxes you, and any chance to get out of the city is good for me. So I really like doing that. Ended up meeting my wife and moved to downstate Michigan a couple years ago, and luckily I get to share everything I love to do with her, and it's really nice. Between bow hunting, turkey hunting, we usually go out west every year in September to do an elk hunt, take a brook trout fishing, and spring gobblers. We really got big into fly fishing a couple years ago. So yeah, it's kind of nice. I don't have to get yelled at if I want to go sit in a tree for an afternoon, or grab the rod and head down to the local lake. But yeah, you'll find us pretty much doing everything you could think of. And it's really nice to spend the time with her doing what we both love to do. So yeah, hopefully you'll tune in and watch our adventures, and check out Rack and Rod Chronicles TV. Catch you guys later.
All right, guys, so you just checked out the introduction for our first team member, Pat Casey. Pat is from Michigan, as he said in his clip. And one thing you're going to learn about Pat and Amber, they're big time bow hunters. They're actually going out on a 2-week archery hunt again this year for elk out in Montana. That elk, I believe Pat shot 2 years ago that was in that clip. And Amber was hunting last year. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out for her. But coming up next year, Pat's going to walk you through his bow setup. And Pat is pretty meticulous when it comes to stuff. And so is Amber when it comes to their bows. So they actually both shoot 2 different bows. They shoot a bow strictly set up for out west, and they set up another bow for shooting whitetails in Michigan or anywhere, outside the western states. So check this out. Pat, doesn't go too crazy in depth, but he gives you the basics, and he actually tells you the program he uses. So make sure you take some notes if you want to get into setting up your own bow, and check it out.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Another lovely day in paradise. Welcome to my underground lair. It's a little bit messy down here, but it's a nice place to come down to, work on bows, work on guns. So a little bit of a getaway. I know we're all kind of chomping at the bit to do some shooting here this spring. It's been a long spring, unfortunately. I've been able to do a little bit of tuning in the basement this winter, which has been good, especially since I just picked up this bow right before Christmas. So just wanted to go through my setup and kind of what I'm using and what I'm doing here. I'm shooting a Matthews Halon 32, and I have a 30-inch draw length. This one has 50 to 60 pound limbs. I have it set up at 55 pounds. I have another Matthews Halon 32 that I use for out west hunting. I'm able to bump that up to 65 pounds, which is kind of nice, but it's 2 different arrow setups. So this one, I'm running a single pin HHA, and I really like the single pin for whitetail hunting. I'm not having to guess which pin I'm going to use, especially when I'm only shooting up 35 yards. So I'll set my pin on my dial at 25 yards, 20 yards, and I can easily shoot up to 30, 35, and max I'm shooting is going to be probably 35 yards anyway. So the single pin's nice because it clears up my sight picture, and that's what I like to use for my whitetail setup. Back end, I'm shooting Vapor Trail, limb driven rest. Went to that a couple years ago on both my bows, and I really like it. It's convenient just because this cable breaks. All I have to do is grab a shoelace or grab another cable. I usually keep one in my pack anyway, and tie it back up to my top or bottom limb, and I'm hunting again. The other dropaways are usually serving a string into your cable, and if that breaks, it's not the easiest to get back in there and get your timing back with your dropaway. So I like this rest. I'm running Titanium Archery Products Hybrid Pro front and side stabilizers, and these are pretty slick. They have the quick disconnect, so transporting my bow, I'm just taking these off and put my bow in my case, and whenever I get to where I'm hunting, put it back on and good to go. Also, I'm shooting the Titanium Archery Products string stop, and it reduces vibrations. I've noticed that. I mean, this bow was pretty dead in the hand to begin with, but I definitely notice a difference when shooting that string stop as well. But yeah, it's really the specs on my bow, and I build my own arrows on top of that, and I like to use the Archer's Advantage arrow building program. And based off of the poundage I'm pulling and my draw length, I can kind of pick and choose what brand of arrows and spines I want to go with. So what I went with this year for this bow was the Easton Hex and this is a 330 spine cut at 29.5 inches. I am using a 75 grain brass insert up front, and I shoot 125 grain fixed blade broadheads. And on the back end of the arrow, I'm using the AAE Max Stealth vanes, and my setup I'm using 3. I know a lot of guys like to use 4, sometimes more, but these vanes are nice. They're stiffer, low profile, which I kind of like, but they shoot well, they're quiet, and that's kind of really what I'm going for. But I like to keep my arrow setups between 250 to 280 feet per second. I don't like to go much more than 280 feet per second, just from shooting fixed blade broadheads. It seems a lot tougher to tune fixed blade broadhead when you get up there in speed. So that's what I like to keep it at. But I'll bare shaft tune all my arrows and get that set up first, making sure I'm shooting bullet holes through paper, bare shaft. Then I'll fletch and I'll repaper tune and get everything good to go. And I shoot out to 60 yards is what I practice to. That really helps me for long distance shooting out west and coming back to Michigan to hunt whitetails. Makes a 25 yard, 30 yard shot seem like a chip shot. So yeah, that's what I'm running. Don't really have anything else, so everybody good luck out there and have a safe spring.
So we hope that little Bowtech clip was informational for you, gave you some ideas on what you're doing when you're tuning your bow. Coming up after a quick little spot from one of our partners, you're going to see Bethany out in Kansas doing something that I still can't wrap my head around this. And I know a lot of people do it. I've been doing some more research on it. And you're going to see Bethany jugging for catfish. They use some duck decoys. They catch a bunch of, crappie or bluegill and use them for bait. And I mean, these fish are not tiny. She catches, and her friends that she's with catch some huge flatheads. And I'm excited to hopefully get a chance to get out there with her and her friends and do some of this, because it's nutty, absolutely nutty. So check it out, get your fishing game on, and stay tuned.
With Arctic ice in your cooler, the possibilities are endless. Built in the USA, built to last. Never buy ice again. Arctic ice, no hassle, no mess, colder than the rest.
So after seeing all that fish, especially catfish, I know when I see catfish it makes me hungry. So coming up here in this next clip, we got Keith and my sister Renae doing some venison pot stickers. So they're going to walk you through, give you some lowdown on where the recipe came from, and you'll see the finished product. So you're gonna start seeing now throughout spring and summer, or the rest of spring and summer, a lot of some cooking stuff, whether it's stream side, outside, inside, different wild game recipes and dishes. Obviously, we all are huge fans of eating what we're chasing and harvesting out in the woods and in the waters. So check this out, and then stay tuned next week. Episode 6 will be coming at you. So we hope you enjoy it, guys. Talk to you soon.
Hi guys, this is Keith.
Renae.
And tonight we're going to make Chinese pot stickers. And we're going to be getting the recipe from Buck Moose. It's from Hank Shaw. We get a lot of our recipes from there. He's got some really neat and interesting stuff. So if you don't have the book, it's a good idea to really expand your outdoor cooking.
He does a lot of international foods, which are kind of cool because it's stuff you can make in your house, but it makes you feel like you're overseas somewhere. So first thing we're gonna have to do is make our sauce for this pot stickers. So the sauce is actually soy sauce, rice vinegar, garlic, ginger. You can do minced ginger. I just got the ginger paste because we don't eat a lot of it. So just the ginger paste in the little tubes here. Sugar and sesame seed oil.
So we're going to mix all that together here, and then we'll go over to the stove, and then we'll reduce it down.
So it's a quarter cup of soy sauce. Three tablespoons of rice vinegar. You can also put hot chilies in it. I don't like spicy stuff, so I omit this chilies.
Keep it a little bit more mild.
It calls for 3 cloves of garlic minced. I just get the already minced garlic in a jar, and I just put in like 2 tablespoons. Teaspoon of white sugar. And 2 tablespoons of sesame oil.
Okay, and then I'm just going to whisk that together to mix it up. I mean, it's a pretty thin sauce. It looks almost like a balsamic vinaigrette.
And this just kind of sits out while you make your filling and fill your pot stickers, just to get it to room temperature before you take it to the stovetop. So now we're going to make the filling. So filling is a pound of venison, which this is our venison that we got there. Yeah.
Yeah, from last year.
Okay. So
From dough that I got.
you can put that in the bowl there.
So we'll open this up. And this is just a little bit more than a pound.
I'm going to take 2 green onions, or chives, whatever you like to call them. People, sometimes they use Chinese chives. We had green onions out in the garden, so I yanked them. So I'm going to chop them up. the ginger.
And that's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty like chunky, so.
It's already minced out pretty good. It's pretty, you don't have much voids in there.
Another 2 tablespoons of garlic. It calls for a teaspoon of salt. I don't actually ever measure, I kind of just eyeball it just a little bit. And we try to keep it a little less salty for us. We also use low sodium soy sauce. We need a tablespoon of chicken stock. You can also use water if you don't have any chicken stock. I always have some in the fridge, so. Yes. And then 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then a tablespoon of sherry cooking wine. And then 2 teaspoons of the sesame oil.
I got it.
Now in Hank's book, he actually gives you a recipe to make your own pot sticker wrappers. It increases the cook time on this, so if you're looking for just a quick, easy night meal, Cooper's coming to check out dinner. You can buy pre-made dumpling wrappers. These were in the frozen section at our local Wegmans. But like I said, he does give you a recipe to make them in the cookbook as well. Alright, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna mix this all up.
Close these up here so we don't knock anything over.
It's a little bit more mushy than, say, meatballs if you make meatballs, just because there's a lot more liquid in this.
What do you think, Coop? Does it smell good?
Alright, so you have wet meatball. Grab the paper thin wrappers. So you just grab a wrapper and handful of, I don't know, quarter, I don't know what size.
Almost like a little cookie scoop.
Size of, and then stick it in the middle and then just close up your wrappers. Sometimes you get explosion off the sides, but that's okay. Just kind of pinch it.
It's one of those things you start off in the beginning and you're a little, how much do you put in by the end? You got them going good. And I said, I'm just keeping these wet after each one to get the top one wet again so they stick. I think a little less.
Yeah. I haven't made them enough. A little bit. And then I just stick them on a cookie sheet, just to keep them from sticking together.
I'm actually going to wet the other side to help them make it a little stickier.
Alright guys, welcome back. We've finished up making our pot stickers. We got 2 solid cookie sheets full. The dipping sauce we talked about before, heating it up, and actually this is just dipping sauce, so you'll just stays room temperature, so while you're making everything else, it just kind of sits out. Give it a good stir before you go to use it. On our stove, we have a cast iron skillet. Got some peanut oil in there. We're gonna fry up the dumplings, or pot stickers, I'm sorry. And then after you fry them up, you will cover them and put water in there, cover them, let them steam up. We also like to throw ours in the air fryer, get them a little bit crispier. Entirely up to you. But we'll get started as soon as the oil is finished heating. Alright guys, so we finished product, Chinese pot stickers and zoodles. Remember your dipping sauce, don't forget about that. And again, Hank Shaw's cookbook, Buck Buck Moose. See you guys.